Hello and welcome to this special show on Rajya Sabha Television, wherein we bring you all the details of digital interventions, digital solutions as far as this fight against COVID-19 is concerned. Now, one aspect of what we have learned in the past 3 to 4 weeks is more and more of technology, as in digital technology, different uses, several aspects of it in our daily life, and one very important aspect are apps, as in whether they are on our mobile phones or on our laptops, on our computers as well. And the related aspect here is the security, that is the cyber security with respect to all the kind of apps which we use. So today we will talk about apps and the cybersecurity infrastructure or the cybersecurity mechanism. What is it that people like you and me need to be aware of while utilizing these apps or while downloading these apps, and what is the mechanism which is already in place out there to take care of your and my cybersecurity? For this, we have with us a distinguished panel of guests. Let me introduce them to you, beginning with Mr. Kumar. He is the Program Director of Frontier Technologies from NITI Aayog. We are also joined by Mr. Munish Sharma, consultant IDSA, expert in cybersecurity. And we have one more expert as far as cybersecurity is concerned, and an analyst as well, Mr. Bhattacharjee. Welcome all of you gentlemen to Rajya Sabha TV. And just to remind our viewers and just to tell them again, we are conducting this show as well on one of the video conferencing apps. That obviously is because of the lockdown is in place and there are social distancing guidelines which all of us have to follow. And I hope that all those who are watching this particular program are also doing the same. So let me begin the show by asking a simple question, starting with Mr. Bhattacharjee. Mr. Bhattacharjee, one basic question which comes to mind is whenever we download a particular app on our mobile phones or any other platform which we have, is why do these apps require a host of permissions for our device details or data out there available on that, or or other tools on the device, be it camera or microphone or location?
Well, Vishalji, the purpose of an app always is well defined, and within the ambit of that app, they try to capture a lot of your information. The moment you see that any information that is sought is not adhering to what is the purpose of that app as you understand and as they define it, you should generally stay away, or your alerts should come up. But having said so, why do we use an app in the first place? We use an app because convenient shortcut, you can say, that is on your device, and it basically so in that you use your own discretion about how much you should share, how much you shouldn't. And mind you, the most of the apps that we are using in our devices are generally either through the Android route or the iPhones, iOS, Apple platform. So in both of them, they themselves do a lot of filtering before placing an app through their networks to be downloaded. Okay. However, it has been seen that even during this time, even during this COVID episode, there has been a lot of apps that has been available that generally would not meet many of the desired parameters that you would want while you choose an app. So one has to be extra careful in this point of time. But by and large, the thumb rule is that you should decide yourself if what is being sought is in concurrence to what is being offered by that particular app, and does it satisfy what you are asking out of that app.
Okay, so we will need to understand as to the reason why we are installing that particular app and the kind of permissions which we are giving. Mr. Sharma, let me bring you in here. And as Subhimal pointed out, this particular time wherein we are forced to stay indoors, utilize various digital platforms, specifically video conferencing apps or other communication apps. Now it becomes really, really important for us to understand the entire cybersecurity mechanism or the infrastructure which is in place. From a layman's point of view, according to you, what is it that is really, really important for some regular mobile user to understand?
I think if you look at it from a very layman's point, then it's always going to be convenience which takes the front seat. So, for example, if I'm a normal employee, I mean, I've got to do my day-to-day activity, my business activity. What is the first and foremost thing which strikes to my mind when I have to do a video calling, for example, or when I have to communicate with my colleagues? So, from a layman point of view, I think it's always going to be convenience, but there has to be a balance between convenience and security, which is the concern what we are discussing.
Mhm.
But I think when we look at it from more of an aware citizen's point of view, I think it's very important for that person to at least practice some minimum criteria of what we call as due diligence, just to check about the authenticity of the app, what kind of reviews it has got, probably look at what purpose it's solving, what as Subhimalji said. So just try to figure out whether it's solving my purpose, but under what security implication it's solving my purpose. So from a
Okay.
layman's point of view, I think that's the first and foremost question which should be asked and which should be addressed. And when we look at it from the other end, from security end, then I think security loopholes have always been there and they will always be there. So even if we talk in very basic terminology, when we look at how these mobile applications work, or when we look at the client server model, or when we look at how APIs interact and then how information is passed on from these apps to the provider's cloud or provider server end, a lot of transactions do happen. So looking at it mainly from app developers point of view, I think some basic level of due diligence on part of app developer also has to be there, so that they at least conform to the basic guidelines of app security, or looking at the basic levels of encryption which are deemed to be fit in that particular category to which that app is solving a problem for. So I think if you look at it, then obviously the baseline understanding for me is that it has to be a balance between convenience and security, and it all depends on which one takes the front seat and which one goes onto the back burner.
Okay, so it has to be a very fine balance between convenience and security. Let me bring in Arnab here. Arnab, since Munish spoke about that there lies a responsibility with the app developers as well, and obviously the users will have to be careful. Now, you've been very closely involved with one of the apps, which is right now the key in our fight against COVID-19. That is the Aayog app. And there all concerns on the security aspect at least have been taken care of in that particular app. So from your point of view, if you look at it from a developer's angle as well, how can things be made much more safe and secure?
Absolutely. So, as you rightly mentioned, so I have been part of the leadership team that has developed Aayog Setu app. Let me tell you that we developed this within 2 weeks. So the product to be shipped out was ready in 10 days. But when we did complete this development in 10 days, we did not compromise on security, privacy, legal, or any of the aspects. And I'll tell you how we did it. From the very first day, we were sure that there has to be a balance between what we offer to the citizens, how they trust their personal information with us, and what kind of security vulnerabilities could there be. So as we were developing, we were continuously getting it tested. So we got it audited by one of the large technology audit firms for security concerns. What we also did was we also got it in parallel audited by IIT Madras, Professor Kamakoti from there. He also audited from end to end, both the UI UX side as well as the server side. So that part was taken care of. What we made sure that any data that is stored on the device is encrypted using the native OS. So it could be iOS or Android. It's using that native encryption and it's securely stored on the device. Whatever is the communication between two devices is anonymized. So we are not using your personal information to communicate between two devices that have Aayog Setu installed. What we also made sure was that whatever was stored on the server itself was using the best of encryption, and you were using the most secure tunnels, etc., so that we did not have to face these kind of security vulnerabilities when we are at scale. And as you know that Aayog Setu currently has about 65 million users. It was the fastest app ever in the world to hit 50 million, that is in 13 days. Despite that scale and despite the ambition to have this in every smartphone in the country, we have made sure that we have a dedicated team of system level architects who are continuously looking at where we are in terms of scale, where we are in terms of technology, and continuously improving that. We have not relied on any third party software. Whatever functionality we had to do, We built it on our own. It took us some more time. It took us like working 24/7, but we did not open any of our stack anywhere from right from UI UX to the server to the where the data is stored to any third party from where there could be a potential security vulnerability. We did not allow any of that. We have used the best of technologies. We have made sure that no compromise. So you have seen that Trace Together came just a few days or a week before us, and people said that we may have been that may be an inspiration for us. We actually started coding a few days before Trace Together came out, but we are extra conscious to make sure that when we put this out in the hands of citizens, and we knew that scales in India is much bigger than Singapore. We made sure that every single aspect of security vulnerabilities, privacy, legal, etc., is taken care of. I mean, I want to talk more about privacy, but in terms of security, we have made sure that this is there. It has been authorized, it has been authenticated and tested. People bombarded our servers for 5 days together to make sure that there are no security vulnerabilities. We have given this to ethical hackers, etc., taken their inputs into account when building this system.
Okay. Now, one question which out here is really important, since you spoke about from the developer's point of view, and you're saying that all security, cyber security audits were done, and ethical hackers were also given a chance to go ahead and take a go at your particular app to ensure that there are no chinks in the armor there. In terms of the mechanism which is in place to tests all these kind of apps which come into the market, what is the mechanism there, and how can how are these apps usually tested as far as India is concerned?
So I do not have a large experience in building apps. I will tell you what our experience with here is. The first and the foremost thing that people need to bear from a user perspective is who is publishing this app. That becomes very important. That was a very important criteria, and we insisted that has to be published. There has to be a government-owned app. The source code, etc., belongs to the government. While we have developed this in a public-private partnership, the source code, the product belongs to the government of India. So publisher of the app has to be government of India. That was very clear. The second aspect that we did was we made sure that we had redundancies. We did not depend on one particular entity to give us the security check and say everything is hunky-dory. So we actually had 4 independent entities working on this at the same time and saying, here is a tech audit firm with fantastic reputation. Here's a fantastic engineering college, and the Professor Kamakoti is one of the best that the country has. Here are a set of ethical hackers who may know what is happening in real time in the rest of the world. And here is a set of independent people who may also want to have a look at what's under the hood. And we kept our process nimble. We kept ensuring that we do not use any third-party softwares which we are not comfortable with. So we made sure that we do not open any gateway to be vulnerable from any side perspective. So that was there. I mean, I do not want to give all the technical details because that becomes too technical for this. But we had to make sure that we had a list of security checks that we kept doing over and over again, even till the night before we had our launch. That was the night of 1st April. We launched on 2nd April. Even till that night, we had security audits going till say 4 a.m. in the morning.
Okay, so Vimal, I'd like to bring in here what Arnab talked about the kind of mechanism which these guys have followed to go ahead and develop Aayog Setu and ensure that it is pretty much secure, both in terms of its cyber safety as well as data privacy also. Is that the proper mechanism to go by, and is that something which is followed by all app developers, or is there a mechanism in place since you deal with all these issues being the cybersecurity analyst?
Well, Vishal, I think I must compliment Mr. Arnab Kumar, because it has been a fantastic app, and the proof of the pudding is that if you remember the 4 or 5 days back when the DG NIC and me, we were in one of your shows, you just had 30 million users, and now you are already having 65. So now this 35 that have come in the last 4 days, now it is a proof itself of where the trust is. If there wasn't any trust, then a lot of people would have shied away from getting into that app. So I think, it has been a fantastic job. Now, in terms of, what is the right methodology in and trying to make it secure, I think, 2 or 3 very fundamental aspects from a app developers' security perspective are very clear. Number one, you always have to write a secure code. You have to reference to trusted libraries. You have to ensure that you are using high-level authentication. These are some of the things that any reputed entity that is trying to put across an app. And here in this case, as far as Aayog Setu is concerned, if you look at the stakes that the government of India had, Mr. Arnab said, being the app themselves, leaving aside even the privacy part, which is also very crucial. But from a security perspective also, it is very crucial about how the right Stafford Hansen was done right at that moment when they did it at the speed at which they needed to do it. And some of the things, and adherence to security practices based on, writing a secure code, going to the right APIs, going to the right libraries, that's in general as such.
Okay. Munish, from your point of view, in terms of the mechanism or the cybersecurity infrastructure, because it starts from the word go only when the app is being developed and the kind of certifications which are there, the kind of tools which they utilize. So from there onwards, till the time it lands up in a consumer's lap, the mechanism which we have, is that sufficient enough from your point of view? And it's just that the consumers, laymen, people like me will have to be more careful to have that balance between convenience and security, which you pointed out earlier.
Since I'm not an app developer, so I cannot really say that what kind of standards they do follow or do adhere to when they're developing apps. But there are a common agreed upon set of, I would say, guidelines or a set of best practices which developers are supposed to at least adhere to in material and in spirit, so that app which comes out at the end of the day is something which does not have the very basic loose ends left. And if it's something like an adversary who's targeting your application has got all the resources at wherewithal too, he'll definitely find some way or the other to actually break into it. But that's a different story altogether. But the whole idea is to keep those very basic loopholes plugged so that at least it does not remain to be a low-hanging fruit for anybody who's actually trying to break into it. And especially given the timing of something like Aayog Setu, which is very much critical to be on time, to be spread all across the country so that it is effective at least in containing the spread of coronavirus. So I think right now what we are discussing or what we do have in mind is actually if privacy can take the backseat for some time, that should be all right, because right now it's solving a very important purpose for us. And the same thing which I said earlier, that it all depends on convenience and what kind of purpose the app is solving. So if for the government, this app right now is helping to contain the spread of coronavirus in a very cost-effective way, I think then certainly some lapses here and there could be ignored in my view.
Okay, but as Arnab is pointing out, all the concerns as far as privacy is also concerned, that have been taken care of. But Arnab, moving a little further ahead and, again, bringing the consumer in focus here, the usual mobile phone user. Smartphones are very common nowadays, and one of the studies suggests that smartphones are the most vulnerable devices as far as the cyber security crimes are concerned. Specifically, via apps, some malwares are installed in the phone, or certain data is utilized without the permission as well. So, from your point of view, if we have to go ahead and give a sort of a piece of advice to the consumer who are listening to us right now, who are watching us right now, what is it? As Munish pointed out, as Subimal pointed out, from your point of view, what is it that we need to keep in mind?
Absolutely. So you have to. So this goes back to the point that who has developed it and how it has been developed, and whether you have comfort on that person or set of people pushing an app or not. While App Store and Play Store do basic amount of check, you have to depend on who has developed and what kind of comfort they are giving you. From a privacy perspective also, we have absolute comfort. We have actually detailed it down, what information we are asking for and why we are asking this information from you. We are using the native encryption keys from Android and iOS, and we are using the most sophisticated way to encrypt data both on device and on the server. And we are very happy to publish what we have done. So that gives you an amount of comfort what is happening. And for example, if you look at the kind of information we are asking from Aayog Setu, there are basic personal information which we are asking, but we ask that one time, we anonymize that, and we put that on the server. We assign you a randomized, anonymized, unique device ID, which is then used for any further communication between device to server, device to device, etc. So your personal information is never used from that point onwards. That gives you a comfort that this device or this app is not going to make me vulnerable if I keep using this more and more. So that point we have taken care of very, very strongly. What we have also made sure is the information that you actually give to us is not open to any third party, and when we are pushing this to the server is being pushed in the best of the encryption formats that we can have available right now. So that also has been taken care of. While Munish said that privacy may take a back seat, I will not agree to that. When we were building this app, the first design principle of this app was privacy by design. That is why we are doing contact tracing purely using Bluetooth to ask for location. That is actually only used on an aggregated basis. That is not used on an individual basis. So that becomes very, very clear. What we are asking you to trust us with and how we are going to use it. We have a very, very extended terms of use and a very extended and elaborate privacy policy where we have told exactly what we asked you for and how we are going to use that. That also becomes very, very important. I mean, the people should go through privacy policy, read it, understand it. And if you look at the way we have designed the UI also, we have made it very, very simple. At least 3 points in time, we tell you what information we are asking of you, and that you have to give it to us voluntarily. At any point in time, you should be able to delete the app. And more importantly, there's a kill switch that we have developed for the app, which means that the data that you are trusting with us on the device, which is the Bluetooth interaction of yours with other people, that gets deleted in 13 days, 30 days rolling, 30. Whatever we have stored on the server gets deleted in 45 days if you're not at a risk patient or a citizen. And whatever is there on the server, if you have been diagnosed COVID-19 positive or at high risk, that gets deleted in 60 days.
Okay.
So these are the kind of checks and balances that we have put in place to make sure that from a privacy, from a security, from what we ask you to trust us with, is actually adhered to, and we do not compromise with your data at any point in time.
Okay, and perhaps that is one particular model which can be, adopted by other app developers as well in terms of both the security and data privacy as well. Concluding comments from you, Mr. Subimal, about the overall infrastructure which we have, the kind of adjustments which are improvements which we need to make to ensure, because the digital technology is something which will reinvent and re-innovate itself with each passing day, and the cyber security mechanism will also have to be bolstered in a similar way.
Yeah, I think partially one of the very good points Mr. Arnav has answered right now. I would also have disagreed with Munish when he was trying to say that we could give away a little bit on privacy looking at the situation right now. I think privacy would have to remain equally valid, and like we can see this even in this case of Aayog Setu, that every data in storage, every data in transmission, everything is encrypted, and the process flow itself ensures that there is no violation of privacy at any stage. Now, having said so, looking at the way we are looking at data protection in this country in the near future and then hence ahead, I think this app again is something, and the whole ecosystem around it, the way it was done and the way it is being handled, I think that itself is a good example. But looking at a countrywide approach around cybersecurity, where we are looking at all kinds of innovative ideas to come through an app route and all, and then the delivery of these apps to individual devices primarily through trusted networks, I think this is a wholesome game where we have the developers following strict security principles. You have the policy of privacy into even through the operators. So we are basically moving towards a secure computing ecosystem in the country, and apps are definitely going to be the focal point of that.
Okay, thank you so much out there, Mr. Subimal, Mr. Arnab, and Munish as well there for your views on this. As our panelists have pointed out, there are, set standards, established mechanism as well. But we as users will also have to strike that fine balance between convenience and security. We will have to identify what is it that we want out of that particular app and whether the permissions which we are granting it does fulfill that particular target. We'll come back again tomorrow with a different topic. Till then, keep watching Rajya Sabha television and keep following all the guidelines from the government, be it the state or the center or your local government as far as fight against COVID-19 is concerned. Stay home, stay safe.